Hello everybody, what is up? Moses is here, and today I'd like to clarify a few things about the Atlas. So let's talk about the Atlas. First of all, let's talk about the basic rules of map drops and what's possible and what's not. So whenever you're farming a tier X map, for the sake of the example, we're going to use tier 8 Arachnid Nest map. So whenever you're farming a tier 8 Arachnid Nest map, there's only certain available map drops possible. Okay, so tier 8 Arachnid Nest will always be able to drop you a tier 8 map that you already have completed. Okay, so in this case, any of the completed glowing maps that you see right here, all the tier 8s are going to be able to drop. See, we got a pier, we got a atoll, all the tier 8s available. We got shore map. If it's tier 8, it's going to be able to drop in a tier 8. If you don't have it completed, then it will not be able to drop. Okay. Also, tier 8 can drop us tier 9 whenever we kill a rare monster or a magic monster. That monster have a chance to drop a map. Whenever it does in fact drop a map, you'll be able to roll maps from tier 1 to tier 9 because it's a magic monster, even though you're only farming Arachnid Nest, which is only tier 8. Also, the boss of a tier 8 map can drop you a tier 10 map. So bosses +2 up to +2. It can, of course, not drop you tier 10. You know, it's kind of rare that a boss drops you +2 map, but it can happen. So it's important to know that. Magic and rare monsters can drop you up to tier 9, and every other monster in the tier 8 map that you're farming can drop you up to tier 8 maps. Trash monsters. If we're talking about red maps, the rules work the same. And let's give the example of shaped Spider Forest, because that's what brings me to the point of this video: how to shape your atlas and make it drop only the maps that you want it to drop. Namely, for me, shaped Spider Forest. I started farming this map because it can drop you the Doctor Divination card. The Doctor, 8 of those Doctors can give you Headhunter. I started farming it yesterday, already got my first one, pretty sweet. This card sells for about 500 to 600 chaos, depends on the day and on the seller and whatnot. And it is a very, very valuable item. So what I did was, the Doctor originally was a tier 6 map, and then I shaped it. Now, which map drops us the Shaper Orb that we're going to be able to use is very simple also. If you want to shape a tier 6 map, you're going to have to find a tier 11 map that has a circle around it. What do you know? Oba's Cursed Trove is in fact a tier 11, and it has a little circle. That means that this circle, whenever you kill the boss or whenever you finish the map objective, it will drop you a Shaper's Orb that will then be used on tier 6 map to bring it up to tier 11. If you want to shape a tier 13 map, you're going to have to find a tier 13 map that has a circle around it. At the moment, I think High Gardens is the only one that originally had it, and then there might be some map here in the Fog of War that I'm unable to see. But basically High Gardens had it, and when you use that Shaper Orb from the High Gardens, you're not going to be able to see it anymore on the Atlas. And I used it in fact to bring my tropical island from tier 8 to tier 13. So the only maps basically in my Atlas, the way I shaped it, that can drop are tropical islands and Spider Forest. Okay, so if you want to target a specific map to use the Shaper Orb on, you always gotta find, okay, this map is tier 7, let's get a +5 on it, because that's what Shaper's Orbs do. They give +5 to the tier of the map. From 7 we're going to look into 12, and what do you know? There is Death and Taxes, which is a unique map that drops us a Shaper Orb because it has a little circle, and there's also Estuary map that also drops us a Shaper Orb. and we're going to be able to use it to bring a tier 7 map to tier 12. Okay, now I personally don't want any tier 12 maps anymore. I used to farm those Vault maps. Vault was tier 12, but basically I used to farm Ashen Woods. It's somewhere here, right here. It used to be tier 7. I used to farm it and I removed it because I didn't like the layout. I ended up not liking it, and I ended up deciding that I only want to farm forest and the tropical island. So how did I remove this? Basically, there are two recipes that you need to know. If your atlas is already kind of fucked up, if you messed up a lot and you completed too many maps on the atlas, it's a bummer. It's gonna cost you, but it's possible to remove those maps from the pool of possibilities for that tier. So how do we do it? Basically, we go to any vendor, any master in your hideout. When we get this vendor window, we can sell 3 master cartographer sextants for red maps, journeyman for yellow maps, and apprentice cartographer sextants for white maps, and we can use 3 of those with a scouring orb to get a apprentice, journeyman, or master's cartographer's seal. So basically there's never any reason at all to remove white or yellow maps. So effectively we're going to always ever use this recipe to seal red maps. So that's why I'm only showing this, because we sometimes fuck up with the high tier maps, and unfortunately it's a bit expensive. But if you've opened up your atlas and you completed a bunch of maps and you want to remove them right now because you decided you want to shape your atlas to only drop tier 11 and tier 13 that are specific for you, then that's what you're gonna have to do, unfortunately. Another thing is that if you shaped another, let's say you shaped another map that is tier 13 now, and you would like to remove it because you decided, okay, let's take a look at tier 8 maps. Okay, here we got a shaped shore, right? Shaped shore used to be pretty good, but they nerfed it. And let's say you did in fact shape it, and now it's tier 13. So what you're gonna do, cartographer seal is not going to work for that. For that we need a different recipe. And for that we're in fact going to use 5 orbs of regret, a stack of 20 chisels, and this will give us an unshaping orb that will downgrade a map on the atlas. It will not uncomplete it. It will just make it go back to what it is. If you want to uncomplete it, well, you got this recipe to use on normal red maps, but if you want to just unshape the shaped map, you have to use this recipe. 5 regrets, 20 chisels. And you know, that will guarantee that you will never drop this tier ever again of tier 13. It will come back to a yellow normal map, and it will be downgraded from tier 13 back to tier 8. I in fact used it on shaped shore because initially in this league I shaped my shore because I remember it to be good, and then I started farming it and I noticed that the area is much smaller and there's a lot less monsters, and even with all the sextants I use, it seemed like they nerfed it pretty bad. Also, shaped strand used to be so good, now it's pretty shitty. So yeah, about that I already knew, so I didn't shape that, but I did in fact shaped the shore, and it's kind of a bad map now. Some people still play it, it's fine, but you know, for me it's not really working out, so I removed it, and that's how I did it. So now you guys know as well how to unshape and how to remove a bonus completed. Now again, if you want shaped spider forest to only drop for you, you gotta make sure that there's no other tier 11 and that there's no other tier 12. Why? Because magic and rare monsters will sometimes roll 12, and if you have another 12, then the game will not roll back to 11, but it will in fact drop a tier 12 map. That's why if I want only shaped spider forest, I don't have any other tier 12 completed on my atlas, none at all. Whenever the game rolls 12 and I don't have it, it goes a step back and drop 11, and since 11 is the only one that I have is shaped spider forest, that's the only map I'm always able to drop. That's it. Of course the game will also drop me tier 10, 8, 9, you know, and all these lower tier maps, 5, 4, 3, and all that, those will always constantly drop, but those I don't care for, and those I don't need to remove, because whenever the game rolls 6, okay, there's no way it is going to drop 11, because, you know, the game drops, I don't know, 1d11, and then it rolls certain numbers. If it's 6, then Shaped Spider Forest couldn't have dropped anyways, so I don't mind if a 6 drop. I just don't pick it up because I don't farm it. Okay, I hope you get the idea. I mean, I don't know, I already made a video about it, but I still get a lot of questions, so I made this video again to try and clarify the method. You simply remove all the maps that you don't want on the tier. Okay, that's how it works. And also on the tier above, because when you're in a map like we talked about, again, Arachnid Nest was the example, we can drop tier 8, tier 9, and tier 12 at the most. And if we only want the Arachnid for some weird reason, okay, then we cannot have tier 9 or tier 10 on our atlas. As a matter of fact, we cannot have any other tier 8 on our atlas. The only tier 8 that we must have is Arachnid Nest, in fact, if we only want Arachnid Nest to drop. And the same goes for the tier 11, for the tier 13, for the tier whatever. Okay? So I hope you now understand that. And we can move on to the next topic, which is Sextants. You see a bunch of red circles. This could get a little confusing. Okay? If you're not like a little bit like into really, you might just want to skip that part altogether, okay? But if you want to learn, stay around and let's talk about Sextants. So I'm farming Shaped Tropical Islands, right? And I'm farming Shaped Tropical Islands, and I'm farming you know, Shaped Spider Forest, and I'm using Sextants. What do Sextants do? We have 3 types of Sextants: whites, yellow, and reds. Journeyman, Apprentice, and Master. These will be applied on your atlas. They will form a circle, and that circle will have 3 uses remaining. So every time I'm crafting and I'm farming maps, I always farm in group of 3. I always craft 3 maps in groups of 3. How do I do it? Very, very simple. I want to increase, you know, the quantity. I want to increase the number of monsters in the instance, and that's basically what Sextants are all about. They add more monsters to the instance. Okay, now they also cost kind of a lot of chaos, so there is a method called Sextant blocking that we're going to go through in a second, and we're going to talk about. So basically there's a lot of Sextant mods. Some of them are good, namely the ones that add more monsters to the instance, and some of them are bad. You know, for example, areas contain slipstream. Okay, this will not increase the, you know, number of monsters in the instance. Here we got boss deal increased damage, maps have 20% quality. So okay, we may save a little bit on chisels, but this Sextant is bad for us because it doesn't have more monsters. Here we got area contains an additional strongbox. This might be good if you're farming strongboxes, but not particularly. Here we got more damage while stationary. I already have enough damage. I want more monsters in my instance. I don't want more, you know. So I think you get the idea. You know, found items in identified maps are dropped identified. All these Sextants are pretty bad for me, so I don't want them. So basically how it works is that if you use a Sextant, it is going to affect maps in its radius. Okay, because I used the found items in identified whatever, because I used this Sextant and I got this roll over here, it is now affecting the Val Pyramid map, and it is now affecting Phantasmagoria. So these maps will also have this Sextant. What does this mean to us? It means that whenever we're rolling Sextant on this map, we cannot get twice the same Sextant. Okay? And furthermore, whenever we're rolling on this map, we cannot get this sextant as well, because even if it's not touching, because maps can't have two of the same sextant affected on them. Okay, and that's like the point that I need to understand. That's the core of the idea of sextant blocking, because we got identified sextant roll over here, and it is affecting Val Pyramid. Whenever we're going to roll Vaults of Atziri, we're never going to be able to get this sextant roll, because map cannot roll the same mod twice. I hope you got that, but that's basically the point. So if maps can't roll the same mod twice, by blocking certain bad mods, in the long run, I'm going to be saving myself sextants, because I will have less bad mod possibilities whenever I'm rolling maps that in fact affect the map that I'm effectively farming, which is Shaped Tropical Island. So let's look at the Shaped Tropical Island. Which maps affect Shaped Tropical Island? We have beach map, right? For beach we have a white sextant we can use, and you can see it affects Shaped Tropical Island. Okay, we have Arachnid Tomb that also affect Shaped Tropical Island, right here, and we have coves that also affect Shaped Tropical Island. Okay, but coves is also affected by shore, right? And Arachnid Tomb is affected by several maps over here. Okay, and you know, beach is also affected by Shaped Jungle Valley as well. So this is why I rolled like bad mods on the maps on the outside, because they will in fact block these mods from being rolled on the maps that do affect and, you know, effectively the Shaped Tropical Island. Now note that only maps that are affected by the map that you're farming directly are going to be consumed whenever you're using an instance, whenever you're opening an instance of Shaped Tropical Island. Okay, it's a little bit tricky, but once you start doing it, it's really not that complicated at all. It's just a lot of theory and you gotta understand the rules, but once you understand the rules, you understand it's in fact pretty fucking simple. It's not rocket science, I promise you. Okay? There's just like a bunch of red circles, and each one of them modifies the map in a way that we want, hopefully. And let's roll these maps, and let's give you an example. So we got Shaped Tropical Island. We're going to roll. Okay, look at that. We got area contain an additional packs with mirrored rared monsters. Additional packs, that's always good for us, because again, sextants are used for us to get more monsters into the instance. Without the sextants, you know, there's going to be much fewer monsters, and we essentially just want to get more experience, more loot. Alright? So we got that thing going for us. We got roll here. Okay, increased monster attack speed, cast speed, and players have attack and cast speed and move speed. This is a bad sextant. But I'm not going to spam it right now. Why? Because I'm going to go to Arachnid Tomb first, and by having this, okay, this is actually a good example, by having this affecting the Shaped Tropical Island right now, that means that it is blocking it from being rolled on Arachnid Tomb, because Shaped Tropical Island cannot get the same sextant twice. It cannot get it from both coves and Arachnid Tomb. It can only get it from coves, which means this bad sextant mod right here could never be rolled. No matter how many times I spam yellow sextant on Arachnid Tomb, I will never be able to get coves, because it is blocked currently. Okay, but it is still bad, so we're going to come back to that later. Okay, so let's do this one first. Area contains additional poisonous monsters. That's good for us. Okay, whatever comes first doesn't matter. Players deal damage, poison, it doesn't matter. But what matters is the area contains additional poisonous monsters. Sweet, more monsters, more XP, more loot. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is going to be the beach. The beach is a white map, right? so we're going to use that. Okay, so here we got a bad mod. Basically, additional rogue exile, very little XP. We want packs of monsters. So now we're going to go back once we've took care of all the maps that effectively affect Shape Tropical Island, and we got certain mods that we want. We're going to move over and roll over the mods that we don't want. This is a bad mod. Okay, so we're going to keep rolling. Area contains an additional breach. This is like the second best, if not the best mod you can ever hope for, because breaches are in fact amazing. You know, league mechanic, and we want as many breaches as we possibly could get. Okay, so let's go back to the area contains additional rogue exile, whatnot. And we got increased magic pack size. Sweet, 30% increased magic pack size, additional poisonous monsters, additional breach, and additional rare monsters. Now this map is ready to be farmed. All we have to do is chisel Alch, or in this case Orb of Binding. This is a new currency that effectively works exactly as alchemy orbs, and in fact a bit cheaper. So that's why I have 400 of these, because I'm using them, and it makes the maps rare. And now what you want to look at when you're rolling maps is basically what is the pack size. There's no pack size over here. So pack size mods are mods that effectively affect the player, and if you see players have less area of effect, this will give us a single pack size mod. Pack size mods roll between 10 to 15 if I'm not mistaken, and this one in fact rolled minimum. So we want at least double pack size for us. If you're just starting out your Atlas, you can settle for just one pack size mod, but never map without any pack size mods. It's just like a general tip. Okay, so never do that. So at this point we want to roll all of these three maps. All of these three maps roll pretty bad for us. The quantity is pretty low. Even after chiseling, about 70 quality is considered pretty bad. What you want after max chisels is around 85 plus ish. If you get more, even better, but normally about 85 quantity, and about, I don't know, single pack size or double pack size, depends on your currency. I happen to have a bunch of chaos orbs, so I can spam chaos on these maps until I get the desired effect. If you don't have a lot of chaos orbs, if it's the beginning of the league, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using scouring and alchemy, or scouring and binding orbs, to make these maps rare and re-roll them again. For the sake of the video, we're going to roll these maps. Here we got 84 in single pack size, 96 single pack size, and then of course you see the single pack size, that's fine, but you also got to make sure that these are rolls that your character is comfortable with. If the map has a single pack size, which means the map contains a mod that affects the player, but that mod is in fact elemental reflect, and your character can handle that, then re-roll it, because your character is gonna die. Okay, and then you're gonna lose XP, or you're gonna die. I mean, it's terrible. So you gotta roll over mods that you don't need, and keep mods that you do need. So again, roll your maps, try and get the single or the double pack size, and then just start farming the map. It's going to have the Sextants, and now we're going to talk about the last phase, which is in fact the map device. The map device, including Zana, we want to get her as fast as we can to level 8, because she in fact adds, at level 8 she's going to have 8% item quantity for each map, but also she's going to able to allow us to get access to different league bonuses. Okay, so if you're rolling Zana level 1, then you're not going to have any access to all the other things that she could give you. So with the small cost of 6 chaos at level 8, you can have double breaches, additional breaches, and those breaches, right, you farm the splinters, and those splinters are very, very, very valuable, and you can make those where do I have them? Here. You can make those breach stones, and you can sell those, or you can farm those yourself, right? So breaches are very, very, very important. They give you a lot of XP, they give you a lot of loot, so you want to get your Zana to level 8. Another thing you can do is go to Nemesis maps for 5 chaos and chance leather belts. In this instance, that's what people do. Chance leather belts and get the headhunter, hopefully. You can go with ambush and adds 3 additional strong boxes. You can add beyond for more beyond monsters XP and quantity. You know, all these past league mechanics are available, and they're only available through the map device. So that's why you want to share your daily Zana missions until she reaches level 8, and then you don't really care about that particular master. You don't really care about their maps. I hope you learned something from that video. I understand it was a long video, but I basically think I have all the questions answered over here regarding the Atlas. I think I explained pretty much everything there is to know, and the incentives of why you need to do certain things, or why you want to do certain things. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Share and like and all that stuff. Leave comments below. I usually read them all. And don't forget to check out the live stream. I'm streaming every day. Happy grinding, my friends. Thanks for watching.